all day. She kept that energy all day, every day, until she went to bed. And then sometime around October, she kind of smiled a little bit less and weren't sure what was wrong. Took her to the pediatrician and they diagnosed her with an ear infection. Sent us home. She got better, and then a few weeks later, the same thing. So we took her back in and another ear infection. And this lasted a couple weeks, got better for a few more. And then she developed some swollen lymph nodes on the back of her head and on her neck and freaked us out. Took her in right away. And they said, oh, no worries. It's just a virus, one of those lingering things that's going to take a while to get rid of. You know, if it doesn't go away in a few weeks, bring her back in. And so we waited about a day and took her back in anyway. And so they tested her for the monovirus, kind of a lingering type thing that can take a while. And those tests came back negative. And then the blood test kind of showed some, different levels that they didn't necessarily like to see, but they told us that, again, it was a virus and you can go ahead and rule out cancer. And that's the first time that we heard that word and didn't think a lot about it because that doesn't happen to your kid. And so basically, they did another blood test. The levels did not change that much. And again, they said we could rule out cancer, but because they didn't know what type of virus it was, they were going to send us to the university to see the experts and dig a little deeper and find out a little bit more about it. So we had an appointment set up with the hematology and oncology department, which at that time I had no idea what that even meant and wasn't super concerned about it because they were just the people that were going to tell us what's wrong with her and how many weeks it's going to take to get better. But we got down to that appointment, no bags packed or anything like that, just because it wasn't that serious. And probably within about an hour, the meeting wasn't really going how we thought it was going to go. And a short time later, they told us that our little hero has leukemia. It's acute lymphoblastic leukemia, what we found out later. And they let us know that we wouldn't be going home. She would be admitted right away. It'd be a minimum 2.5-year treatment. And they were going to be doing her first procedure, probably within the hour, to basically do a bone marrow biopsy, find out how bad the cancer is, and exactly what type it is, which ended up, it was the ALL. So they wheeled her away, and said the procedure would probably take an hour, hour and a half, and they'd come get us, and then they came and got us about 30 minutes later, and wanted us to meet them up in the ICU, saying that the procedure didn't go too good. She, when they gave her the sedation, she had some type of reaction, and she actually stopped breathing for almost a minute before they were able to put a tube down her throat and bag her and get her back going. But she pulled through, and they wheeled her into the room, and it's kind of a picture that I want to forget. She came in just puffy, looking beat up, tubes all coming out. And, doctors and nurses all around her and still squeezing oxygen into her. And it was a dark day. I try not to think about the negative things like that. I like to focus on the positives more. And that's a lot easier to do. And that's what helped us get to this point that we're at a few months later. The main positives is just the overwhelming support that we received from our friends and family. And then kind of the unexpected was all the support that we started receiving from strangers and people we never met. And at the top of that list was representatives from the University of Iowa Dance Marathon and Child Life. And that meant a lot, especially at that time. About 3 days into our stay, I had a chance to go home for the first time and go get some clothes and supplies and things like that. So pull out of the hospital parkade, go up to the toll booth, and give my ticket, had a stamp on the back of it, and they said $17. And I was like, oh no, it has a stamp on the back. And they're like, yeah, it gives you the lowest rate of $17. It's like, okay. Our daughter's here, she's a patient, she's gonna be here for a little while. And he's like, yeah, it's $17. Like, okay, so I paid it, went about my way. The next day, our social worker, John Miller, comes up, hands us a slip of paper, and he says, here you go, this is going to pay for your parking for the next week, provided by University of Iowa Dance Marathon. I was just like, wow, man, thank you. You know, we appreciate that. Short time later, after we hear about what the treatment's going to entail for the next couple of years, and all the over-the-counter medications that she's going to need and things like that, he comes up and tells us that the University of Iowa Dance Marathon's going to pay for most of our over-the-counter prescriptions for the next couple of years. And they're going to buy all those expensive ear thermometers that we're going to need at home, and all that good stuff. And again, I was just like, wow, thank you. And thank you guys. The one thing the one day I remember, probably the most that sticks out in my mind is I was walking through the halls one day, one of those first 3 days, and I was just kind of in a dark place in my mind, you know, just trying to wrap my head around all the things that have been happening to Nora and my family. And Michaela comes around the corner, smiling, and somehow she was still able to smile in those first couple of days. She, by nature, she's one of those big-hearted, like, just emotional, kind people. But somehow, I don't know if it was mom instinct or what it was, but she just turned into a rock. And she was my rock those first few days. And she got me through it, and I just want to thank you. So I was walking through the hall that day and just in a tough spot. And she comes around the corner smiling and she's like, hey Ben, did you hear the news? I said, no, what? She's like, when Nora beats this and she goes to college someday, University of Iowa Dance Marathon is going to help pay her tuition. And I started crying. And she gave me a hug and she was like, no, it's okay. Like, what are you crying about? It was one of the first happy moments that I had while I was in there. And it brought me out of that dark place. Just because by that time I had learned a lot more about you guys and what you do. And I pictured this moment here with all of you here sacrificing your own time and helping these kids. And now you're helping my own daughter. And it meant a lot, and it brought me out of there. Kind of in closing, I just kind of put a personal flop side. When Nora was born, she was young, and then I had all these hopes and dreams for her. You know, she could grow up and be the first woman president. She could be a writer, a doctor, a nurse, whatever she wants to do. But this whole experience has changed so much of that for me. You know, it changed the mindset, and the one thing that probably changed most is just perspective. And now when I think about it, and I think about Nora beating this and growing up, I don't think about those things anymore. You know, I just have one hope for her. And watching you guys, the one hope that I have for her is that when she grows up to be just like somebody like people in this room. You guys are truly a special bunch of people. There's a lot of universities and a lot of kids in those universities all through the country. There's very, very few of them making the impact and having the impact on people's lives that you guys are. We appreciate that. So Nora, we're proud to say that with the help of all the great doctors and nurses and all the support, she's getting better. She's a little fighter, and we look forward to seeing you guys next year. Thank you, Dance Marathon.